بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين نبينا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين أما بعد السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله تعالى وبركاته.
So we have a new brother with us tonight. We say أهلا وسهلا ومرحبا بكم. أو تو sorry. There's Abdul Ofra and Shaman. So just quick, what we're doing is we're going through a book called the 40 Hadeeth of Imam Nawawi. He compiled a book of 40 Hadeeth, right? So we covered one Hadith so far, the first Hadith, which just deals with one's intention. إِنَّمَا الْأَعْمَالُ بِالنِّيَّاتِ. Maybe you can get the recording from someone. It was recorded and you can listen to the discussion of it was last week that we had. And before that we discussed who the author was, his life, a little biography about him. And in the second week we discussed the introduction to the book. And in last week was the third week when we did the first Hadith. Right? And I think if there's one you can listen to is that one, because that's very important, utmost importance, right? And that is that your deed is basically based on your intention. So when you're here, when you're seeking knowledge, your intention is for Allah's sake and Allah's sake alone. And it's not for anyone else or for anything else. طيب. So the second hadith we deal with is known as Hadeeth Jibreel, right? The hadith of Angel Jibreel alayhi salam. Okay, and it's a very long hadith, so we're probably going to touch on a third of the hadith or so, maybe even less today, and we'll carry on in the weeks to come bi'idhnillahi ta'ala. Firstly, the hadith is narrated by Umar ibn Khattab radiyallahu anh and by Abu Hurairah and others, and the hadith is Sahih. It's found in Sahih Muslim, in Nasa'i and Bukhari as well as a narration. Okay, general comments on the hadith, right? It's one of the most comprehensive hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam. Right? It touches upon almost every deed of Islam, and we'll see as we go through the explanations how deep the hadith is, how in depth this hadith can get. Right? Qadi Iyad rahimahullah, he said that this hadith, it covers the religion to such an extent that all the religious sciences are found in it and branch out from it. Okay. The hadith is known as Hadeeth Jibreel, as we said. It's also known as Sunnah, the mother or the foundation of the Sunnah. The same way, Surah Fatiha is known as Kitab, the foundation or the mother of the book. This hadith is known as the foundation of the Sunnah. So that already shows us the power of what this hadith contains. And that if we can comprehend this hadith, then undoubtedly we have comprehended a great deal of Islam, a great deal of knowledge. طيب. So according to Ibn Hajar rahimahullah, he said that the incident that happened with this hadith, it happened close to the Prophet's death sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Okay, other scholars said it happened just after the farewell Hajj, the farewell pilgrimage of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. This incident happened, right? So what we find is that because it happened so late in prophethood, just before he passed away, and it's such a long hadith, and it discusses matters of Islam and Imaan, etc., that it was as if the most important matters of Islam was summarized in this hadith, because it was just before he died, and these issues were just summarized, and was pointed out that these are the utmost important. Right? So this was summarizing his mission and his message in this hadith, as it was just before he passed on, sallallahu alayhi wasallam. So, why is it known as Hadeeth Jibreel? Does anybody know?
Because he came down and he said, "You need to be for the Prophet also."
Basically, yes, right? So the hadith says, Umar ibn Khattab radiallahu anhu, he says that one day we were sitting with the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Right? So picture the scene. We have the Prophet sitting in front of the masjid. We have his Sahaba in the masjid listening to him, listening to the Imam. And a man came, right? He came and he put his hands on the thighs of the messenger, right? But to the other narrations of the hadith, there are various narrations, one in Muslim, one in Nasa'i. So what happened it's an incident that happened. So people are describing what they saw. You with me? So certain wordings will be different to others, right? So Umar narrated it in his wordings, Abu Hurairah in the way he saw it. You with me? But the message is one, right? when they narrate what the Prophet said, it was basically the same thing. Okay? Right. So, from the various narrations, what we definitely learn is that the appearance of Jibreel, when he came to the Prophet ﷺ, was that he appeared as a Bedouin Arab. That he came as a Bedouin out of the desert. And Bedouins are known for being rough and coarse and wild, if you want to call it that. Right? If you've been to an Arab country, you will know a modern Arab and a Bedouin Arab. You can see the difference. The way they drive, the way they speak, the way they eat, everything. Right? They are loud and wild. People think they're arrogant, people think they're rude, but that's just their nature. Right? To them, that's normal. Okay? So he came as a Bedouin Arab. And there are many issues from the hadith that point out to this, right? That he came as a Bedouin Arab. So, for example, he came from the back of the masjid, and he shouted, "Ya Muhammad!" And everybody looked at him, and he asked, "Can I come forward?" And the Prophet allowed him. And as he came forward, he kept saying the same thing: "Can I proceed? Ya Muhammad, can I proceed?" Right? And as he's coming forward, he's walking over the backs of people, over their shoulders, until he gets to the Prophet ﷺ, right? He sits directly in front of him, puts his hands on his knees, and he speaks to him, right? So what happened? Everybody's attention is on this man. You with me? Because he's coming with this rough nature, with this wild nature, everybody's looking, and who's this guy, man? Right? So the hadith mentions that he had extremely white clothing and extremely black hair. Okay, extremely white clothing and extremely black hair. In another narration it says that his clothing was so clean that there were no traces of dirt upon him. So scholars derive from this that it's recommended that the person is always in a good attire. When you come to seek knowledge, you look good, you dress your best, right? You have respect for the knowledge, right? You have respect for what you're going to seek. And I actually normally, when I start my classes, as we did in the past, what I normally do is the first session I normally talk about the importance of seeking knowledge, right? So we understand what we're doing here. It's not something simple, we're just sitting here. This is one of the best things that you can possibly do in this world right now, right? It's worth sacrificing your family time for this, okay? Right? And especially when you go to the masjid. Sometimes we go to the masjid, we wear anything, right? And we go scruffy. But when you're going to someone else's house, and you want it is nice. Whereas that deserves your best approach. So he came in a manner that we know we have to learn from. We have to look at the hadith. Remember, these things, if you read it quickly, you don't really ponder over it, you don't really, extract any benefit from it, man. You only look at what the Prophet maybe said, and then we want to discuss that. But there's a benefit in everything, man. Okay? The other point to mention is, he had white clothing on. And we know that the Prophet ﷺ, his most preferred color was white. So, the best clothing for men is to wear white, right? And Umar ibn Khattab used to say that those reciters of Quran should wear white. This was what he recommended for them, right? And it was his most beloved color, was that he wore white. Right? And also we learn that Islam emphasizes on the inner as well as the outer. Last week, we spoke a whole week about, or over an hour and a half about the inner, right? We spoke about your intentions and about your heart and all of this. Here, we have a little benefit on your external appearance as well. Now, right? And as the author says, if one wants to attain knowledge, one must approach that knowledge in the proper manner. Knowledge includes being willing to sacrifice one's time and wealth for it, as well as outwardly showing respect for it by sitting and appearing in a proper manner while attaining knowledge or passing knowledge. Then the hadith says, there were no signs of travel on him, and none of us knew him. Right? Generally, when you are on a travel, when you come from a travel, you can see this person is tired, this person is weary. Think back, these people came out of the desert. This man came out of the desert, and he appeared in a masjid. Right? And yet, he was shining white, extremely white, not to speak of dirt or dust on him. Black hair. So where did he come from? No one knows. Right? He came out of the desert, and there was no trace of travel on him. No tiredness, no nothing. Right? And Umar says that none of us knew him. Such, in another narration it said, people used to look at each other, man. Like, who's this guy? Who's this guy? So all of this points to what? That He came in this wild manner, rough, loud. He looked so pristine in his white thobe. No one knew him. And he's shouting, "Oh Muhammad." So what's happening? All of this diverts everybody's attention to him. Everybody's now focused on this guy, right? What's he gonna say? Who is he? Sitting. Put off. Okay? Right, so what's the hikmah behind all of this? This was so that the people would watch and listen to what he did very carefully. In this way, they would pay close attention to him, grasp his words and the Prophet's response, and then pass it on to others who came afterwards. This was the whole point of this whole intro, man. So that people will pay attention, listen to what he said, and tell others, "Hey, you know what happened today? This man came in, he said this, and the Prophet said that." Okay? All again pointing to the importance of this hadith. And then the hadith says that he came and sat next to the Prophet ﷺ. He supported his knees up against the knees of the Prophet. فَأَسْنَدَ رُكْبَتَيْهِ إِلَى رُكْبَتَيْهِ. So he came and he supported his knees on the knees of the Prophet ﷺ. Right? Benefit, this should be the attitude when you're seeking knowledge. You don't want to sit at the back, leaning against pillars, the way we do today. We want to sit in front and you can listen attentively to the speaker. Right? Especially in Jama'ah, the sunnah is to sit as close to the Imam and to look at the Imam, right? Or the Khatib when he's speaking. Likewise, when you seek knowledge, you should be eager to sit right in front and listen, pay attention, and listen attentively. Okay? And then he put his hands on his thighs. He put his hands on the Prophet's thighs. Right? Again, this points out that this is something that's abrupt. You don't come and do that. Put your knees on the person's knees, put your hands on his thighs and speak to him and say, "Oh Muhammad." Right? That's something. So Ibn Hajar says that again, this is just to show that he came as an ill-mannered Arab Bedouin. Just so that people's focuses will be all on this guy, like what is going on. Okay? And then he said, "Ya Muhammad." Okay? Point for us to benefit from, Allah says in the Quran, "La taj'alu du'a ar-rasuli bainakum ka du'a'i ba'dikum ba'da." Right? Don't make the calling of the Prophet ﷺ amongst you people the same way you make the calling of others around you. Meaning, you don't address him the way you address your friend or your brother or anyone else. You address him with respect. Right? So I can call you Irfan, Ufan, Halim, whatever, right? I can call you but you don't say Muhammad to him. And this is the ayah of Quran, right? So again, he came and he said, "Oh Muhammad." So what? So some scholars said the prohibition for this, saying no, not that the thing that prohibits addressing the Prophet in this manner probably was revealed later on. Other scholars said no, this happened so late in his life that cannot be the explanation. Right? Others said this prohibition only applies to humans and not to angels. And then others said no, the wisdom in this is again just to show that he was an ill-mannered Arab Bedouin, and this was just to make people pay complete attention to him. This was the wisdom in it. Wallahu a'lam bis-sawab. Right? So he came, he sat there, and then he said, "Akhbirni anil Islam." He said to him, "Akhbirni anil Islam." Inform me about Islam. So, who's it? Oh.
Anybody want to look up?
So the first thing he said to the Prophet was what? "Akhbirni anil Islam." So inform me what is Islam. Right? This was his first question. This was his first remark. "Akhbirni anil Islam." What is Islam? Right? And then the Prophet ﷺ gave an answer, which basically is the 5 pillars of Islam. That Islam is to declare that there is none worthy of worship besides Allah, and that Muhammad is his messenger, to establish your salah, give your zakah, fast Ramadan, and make hajj for those who are able, right? That issue we're going to discuss in the next hadith. We're going to go into depth into the next hadith on this, because the next hadith is about the 5 pillars of Islam. So we can save some time on this hadith and focus on it on the next hadith. One point of benefit here is, what does the word Islam mean? Because it's going to come up all the time. So what does the word Islam, linguistically, what does it mean?
Submission.
Right. Peace is incorrect. Right? Islam does not mean peace. Right? Peace, Islam means submission. Right? Some people say that Islam comes from the word salam, means it means peace. But that's a different word. Islam comes from aslama yuslimu, which means to submit. Right? To give in to the word, to the law and the decree and the law of Allah, basically. Okay? So, An-Nu'mani wrote, he said, literally, Islam denotes self-surrender, or to give oneself up to someone and accept his overlordship in the fullest sense of the term. Okay? Meaning you completely give yourself up for this deen. That makes you a Muslim. Right? That you believe what Allah sent down, you submit to the will and the law of Allah. Right? That's the meaning basically of a Muslim. Okay? So we're going to focus on that later on. Then what happened was, he gave his answer, and then what did Jibreel say to him? Sadaq. Right? You have spoken truthfully. So Umar said, فَعَجِبْنَا لَهُ يَسْأَلُهُ وَيُصَدِّقُهُ. Right? We were amazed at this. How can you ask a question and then tell the man, yes, you spoke right, you spoke the truth? So Umar, again, all of this again points out now what's going on. Who's this guy? What's happening? How can you come in here in this manner? You ask the Prophet a question and then you tell him you spoke the truth. Right? Again, so Umar says, فَعَجِبْنَا, we were amazed. Right? So this was obviously very strange. Right? Firstly, it's illogical that you ask someone a question and you know the answer. Right? It's not illogical, but it's something that's not normal, especially for the Prophet ﷺ. Secondly, how would he know that this was the truth? He was an outsider, nobody knew him. He came from outside of Medina, and these are the teachings of Muhammad only. So you're not going to get these teachings somewhere else. At that time, this teaching was there only in Medina and nowhere else. So he came and he says, you spoke the truth. So how does he know this is the truth? Right? So this was again amazing for the Sahaba, because what is going on? Right? Again, all of the focus is now again on this man and what's happening. Because remember, they didn't know it's Jibreel. They just saw a strange guy coming in and going on like this. They didn't know who this person was. So the next thing he says was, and tell me about Imaan. Right? Tell me about Imaan. The first question was about Islam. We said we're going to focus on Islam later on. Then he said, and tell me about Imaan. Okay? Right. So what is Imaan according to Ahlus Sunnah wal Jama'ah? For the rest of tonight, we're going to discuss what is Imaan. We're not going to move on with the hadith. All we're going to discuss is the issues surrounding Imaan. Right? Faith and belief in Al-Islam. That's what we're going to discuss for the rest of this class tonight. The Prophet gave an answer. He says to believe in Allah and His Malaika and His books and His messengers, and to believe in the last day, and to believe in Qadr, the decree, right? The good and bad decree, right? So that is what he gave as Iman. But before we even get to what those individual things mean, what does it mean to believe in Allah, what does it mean to believe in the Malaika, that we'll do next week. Today, what is Iman, right? According to Ahlus Sunnah wal Jama'ah. Okay? And 5 pillars of Islam, 6 pillars of Iman, as the hadith clearly mentioned, right? 5 of Islam, 6 of Iman. So, according to Ahlus Sunnah wal Jama'ah, what is Iman? Iman is, the locus of Iman is in the heart, right? Tongue and physical actions. Something that's in your heart, statement of the tongue, and in your physical actions. Iman is something that increases and it decreases. Right? It's not something that's stagnant. It's not something I have Iman with, that's it. It's something that goes up when you do good deeds, and it's something that goes down when you do bad deeds. Right? It's something that can land up in the gutters because you're not focused on your Iman. Something that can, really, you can hit the lowest of the low in your Iman, and you can also reach great levels in your Iman. It's something that goes up and down. Your deeds form a part of Iman. Right? If you claim to be a believer, then you must show or back it up that you are a believer with your deeds. It's not sufficient to say I'm a believer and you don't act upon it. Right? Some such deeds are essential, others are required, and yet others are recommended. By essential we mean, without certain deeds, you have no Iman. You're not a believer. One such example I could use is salah. Right? And that's why on the issue of salah, right, the issue of tariqus salah, the one who does not make salah at all. Right? I'm not talking about someone who makes once a week or once a month, someone who doesn't make at all, but he's a Muslim, he's brought up in a Muslim family, and the Ahadeeth on this issue are extremely strict, and the correct view is that the one who does not make salah at all is not a Muslim. Right? So some deeds are essential for your Iman. And this is, we'll probably maybe get to that when we discuss salah, okay? Others are required, that's wajibat, and others are recommended, like the recommended deeds in Islam. This does not prelude the possibility that true believers commit sins. Such sins, even major sins, if they are less than kufr and shirk, do not take the person out of the fold of Islam. Right? So, the view of Ahlus Sunnah is that all Muslims make sin. All Muslims are sinners. Right? And a major sin does not take you out of the fold of Islam. Now, what I'm mentioning here are of utmost importance, because all of these issues have difference of opinion over it. This is the view of Ahlus Sunnah wal Jama'ah. There are others whose views differ with this, what I'm saying. Others will say your Iman is something that's stagnant. Others say that your actions are not part of your Iman. Others say that Iman is only in the heart and the tongue, that's it. Ash'ari, yes. The Ash'ari, Mu'tazilas, the Murji'ah, the Khawarij, all of these sects, they differ on these type of issues, right? The Khawarij, for example, they say that the major sin takes you out of the fold of Islam, right? Who are the Khawarij? They're the group that rebel against the Muslims. So you have a Muslim leader, you have the Jama'ah that follows the leader, then you have a group that rebels against him. They make khuruj, that's why they're known as Khawarij, right? They're the rebels who eventually fight the Muslims and fight the leader of the Muslims, right? Similar. So, for example, when did it start? Uthman radiallahu anhu. They eventually viewed him to be a sinner, and eventually they killed him. Okay? Ali radiallahu anhu fought him, and throughout history there has been times when the Khawarij came and they disappeared and came and disappeared. In today's time, you have ISIS and similar people with similar methodologies, right? So why do they fight Muslims? Because Aslan, they don't believe that they're Muslim. Why? They commit major sin. You commit a major sin, you're out the fold. That's their belief. So you commit a major sin, you're out the fold, and the Prophet authentically said, whosoever leaves his deen, then you must kill him. Man baddala deenhu faqtulu. That's the ruling on a murtad. Right? What's a kafir is someone who's a kafir, right? Who was never Muslim. A murtad, someone who was a Muslim, he leaves Islam and he becomes a kafir, is known as a murtad. So the ruling in Islam for murtad, if someone leaves Islam purposefully, then you're supposed to kill him, right? Not kill a guy in the street here, obviously by Sharia law, with the correct system in place. Islam doesn't preach that anyone can take the law in his hands and kill people, right? Absolutely not. We're not pushing that you must create chaos and take the law in your hands. That is from the Khawarij traits, right? So, the Khawarij are those who deem people to be a disbeliever. Then they say this person is murtad and we can kill him. And that's why you see bloodshed throughout the world. Why is Muslims killing Muslims? It comes down to these type of issues of Iman, right? This is where the differences go all the way back to, right? There's no use discussing with these type of people, over minor issues, man. The issues of that of belief, right? That's why they believe, or rather, that's why they're doing. The actions are the fruits of their Iman, of their belief, basically. Okay? All people who have even the slightest amount of Iman in their hearts will eventually be rescued from hell and into paradise. Right? So, our belief is that if you have Iman, you will enter Jannah. Eventually. Meaning, you may enter directly, or you may enter Jahannam first, but because of your Iman, you will eventually come out and enter Jannah. Right? That's the view of Ahlus Sunnah wal Jama'ah as well. Must I make mention of the sects, what they believe, or must I just move on?
I think mention it because just don't know.
Okay, the Khawarij, right? The Khawarij, the locus of Iman is in the heart, tongue and physical actions, similar to Ahlus Sunnah wal Jama'ah. But in this view, if anyone falls short in his deeds, right, he becomes a disbeliever. That's what we mentioned. By major sin, you're out, right? And obviously when you're out, you're in hellfire forever, according to them. So a major sin, you're out the fold and you're in Jahannam forever, right? But this view clearly contradicts the Quran and Sunnah. For example, Allah has prescribed a punishment for the person who commits adultery, right? Zina, major sin. Everyone agrees. But did Allah say you were kafir? Did the Prophet say you were kafir? There were Sahaba who committed zina. So what was the punishment for them? Were they doomed for hell? They were flogged or stoned, right? So Allah has given us punishments for certain acts, man. If you steal, it's a major sin. But does the Sharia say you must kill the person? It says cut off his hand, right? So this view clearly contradicts all of these rulings, man, right? Okay, then we have the Mu'tazila. According to this view, the locus of Iman is in the heart, tongue and physical action, similar to Ahlus Sunnah wal Jama'ah. They supposedly took a position between the above two positions. So, the Mu'tazila, you have Ahlus Sunnah, right? You have the Khawarij. The Mu'tazila try to be in the middle. You with me? And we find this often nowadays. You have Ahlus Sunnah wal Jama'ah, then you have an extreme group. Some people, they differ with both and they put themselves in between and they feel, now we're on the middle path now. But the middle path is on Ahlus Sunnah's path, man. You with me? And there's ample examples we can give for that. So, they done the similar type of mindsets. So for them, the deeds of the heart are included, but, so that's wrong. They stated that a great sinner is neither a believer, so they differ with Ahlus Sunnah, but he's not a disbeliever either. He's in the middle.
Suspended.
He's suspended. Yeah. This was their view. Right? He falls somewhere in between the two. This is what they believe. At the same time though, they say that such a person will be in hellfire forever. So you're not a believer, you're not a disbeliever, you're in the middle somewhere, but you're also doomed for Jahannam because you're a major sinner. That's the Mu'tazila. In order to come to this conclusion, they have to reject numerous Ahadeeth and confirmed reports of the Prophet ﷺ that the believers who commit such sins will be rescued from the hellfire. Right? This is all batil. Okay? And the Sunnah, these are the Khawarij, the Mu'tazila, were from the first sects of Islam that came up. Right? Before all these latter-day sects popped up, they were from the first. And that's why many of the books of the Salaf, I'm talking about classical books of refutation and Aqidah, is refuting these guys. But we can still use those books because you find that a lot of these views are found in other sects as well. Right? So we obviously benefit from the great books of the Salaf. Right? Then you have the Murji'ah. According to this view, the locus of Iman is in the heart and the tongue, but it excludes your physical actions. Right? So whether you do your good deed or bad deed, it doesn't really have a reflection on your Iman. It doesn't really change the strength of your Iman. It's what's in your heart and what's on your tongue. That's it. The deeds of the heart are included, but not the physical acts that a person performs. Acts are only the fruit of faith and do not make up one of the essential components of faith. So if you have Iman, you will act. That's what they say. But it doesn't really make up an essential component of you. It doesn't really affect your Iman. If you have Iman, you will act, but that's it. Iman is in essence affirmation in the heart. That's it. Therefore, it is at one level and cannot possibly increase or decrease. So here we see the Murji'ah, because they say that the deeds don't affect your Iman is something that's stagnant, man. You have Iman, you affirm that Allah is the Lord and Muhammad ﷺ is the Prophet, so you have Iman. Sufficient, man. Your deeds don't really affect it, man. So you will always be there. This obviously contradicts Quran and Sunnah, and we're going to discuss the issue of increase and decrease of Iman as well. Then the view of the majority of the Maturidis. Maturidis, similar to the Ash'ariyah, right? Very similar. According to this view, the locus of Iman is in the heart and the tongue. It also excludes physical deeds. They also say that Iman neither increases or decreases, since it is affirmation in the heart only. They differ from the Murji'ah in that they say that the deeds of the heart are also not included as part of Iman, only the statements or beliefs in the heart. So you have deeds of the heart and you have belief in the heart. Right? Do you understand the difference? Belief, for example, is what you believe, right? You believe. Acts of the heart, actions of the heart, for example, tawakkul in Allah. That's an act of worship that you do, but you do it with your heart. Right? Yes, you can do it with your limbs as well, but it comes from the heart. Love for Allah comes from your heart. Having awe for Allah, fearing Allah, is things that come from your heart. Right? So, they differed from the previous sect, the Murji'ah, in that they say that the deeds of the heart are also not included as part of Iman. Only the statements or belief in the heart. Right? Only your belief in the heart is what matters, not the actions of the heart. Because they don't count your actions at all, basically. Some of them even exclude the statement of the tongue as part of Iman, arguing that it is only a sign of Iman, not a component of Iman. Okay? Then the view of the Asha'ira and many Maturidis. According to this view, the locus of Iman is the heart only. Right? It's the heart only. Iman is affirmation in the heart. Iman does not increase or decrease. They exclude all deeds of the heart as well as of the body. Right? A person is a perfect and complete believer even if he does not perform any corresponding deeds, as long as there is affirmation in his heart. They even exclude statement of the tongue and argue that the person does not have to make the testimony of faith, so he will be considered a disbeliever in this world while he is a believer in his heart. So you don't even have to utter La ilaha illallah. If it's not, it's sufficient. Right, and this obviously contradicts ayat of Quran and the Sunnah in many aspects.
Wasn't there a hadith where there was a child that was going to be killed or something, so he was forced to say, and then the Prophet asked him, like, does he still believe?
Yeah.
So, I mean, don't...
Yeah, I'll touch on that now. Right? By saying that Iman is affirmation only, tasdeeq, you affirm that's sufficient. You don't have to act, you don't have to state anything. By this, then we can say that people like Abu Talib, the Prophet's uncle who looked after him, was a believer. Because in his heart, he knew what the Prophet was a prophet. He knew his nephew was not a liar. He loved him, and he knew that his message was the truth. But he never uttered La ilaha illallah. He never acted in accordance with Islam. And what was the Prophet's view of his own uncle? That he died a disbeliever. Right? And what happened on his deathbed? The Prophet was there. He loved his uncle, and his uncle loved him. That he knew his uncle believed that he was a truthful person. So he sat there and he said to his uncle, say La ilaha illallah, say La ilaha illallah, say La ilaha illallah, till his last. And he passed away a disbeliever. And then Allah revealed the verse, إِنَّكَ لَا تَهْدِي مَنْ أَحْبَبْتَ وَلَكِنَّ اللَّهَ يَهْدِي مَنْ يَشَاءُ. Verily you, O Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, you cannot guide those whom you love, but Allah guides who He wants. Right? That verse was revealed because of this incident. Because obviously, he tried his utmost and he wanted his uncle to say it, but guidance lies in Allah's hands and Allah's hands alone. Not even the Prophet ﷺ could get people to accept even his own uncle. Right? So, obviously this view contradicts Quran and Sunnah, basically. Then you have the Jahmiyyah. The Jahmiyyah was also one of the original sects that came about. According to this view, the locus of Iman is the heart only. However, it is not affirming, but it is simply having knowledge of Allah. So you don't even affirm that Allah is the only one worthy of worship. You just have a little bit of knowledge that Allah is Allah. Right? That's it. And most scholars have declared the Jahmiyyah out the fold of Islam. That they say, if you're Jahmiyyah, you're out the fold of Islam. Right? Because of such beliefs. And because this contradicts, if that's the case, then Fir'aun was a believer. Because he knew he had knowledge that Allah was the real Rabb, man. Right? Even though he says, Ana Rabbukum al-A'la, he said, I am the Rabb, the Most High. He knew Allah was with me. And he even said that I'm going to build, a ladder, and I'm going to go see where's the Rabb of Musa. Right? He said this in the Quran. So he knew that Allah was up there, right? He knew Allah is above and he knew Allah existed. So if that's the case, if this is the belief, then he is also a believer, right? But of course it's complete batil. And many of the scholars viewed the Jahmiyyah to be out the fold of Islam. Of the famous beliefs is, they made ta'til of Allah's names and attributes. Ta'til is that they rejected completely. Allah's attributes, they rejected it completely, right? And again, this is from the oldest of sects. So because you had these type of groups that popped up, you had other groups that popped into the middle. You understand? You had the Jahmiyyah, they rejected Allah's attributes. Then you had Ash'aris that came about. Instead of we have to refute the Jahmiyyah. But so they use their own way, they ended up in their own little madhab there. You with me? But from the original sects was the Jahmiyyah. Then you have the Karramiyyah. The locus of the Iman is the tongue only. The Karramiyyah say it's in the tongue only. If you say La ilaha illallah, khalas. There is nothing in your heart, it's fine. So it's on the tongue only. And obviously, scholars have, according to their view, the hypocrites are perfect believers. Because the hypocrites are those who say on their tongue, but they don't believe in their heart. So this is their view.
That the game goes against Quran.
It goes against everyone. Right? So, of course, you have many, now there's refutations and all of that. It's not an Aqidah dars right now, but just to show you the mas'ala of Iman, there is great difference of opinion over these type of issues. It gets intricate, but Ahlus Sunnah wal Jama'ah has been preserved. Right? There's always been scholars on this way that have preserved it, the way of the Quran, the Sunnah, and the Sahaba.
I'll ask you a question. Isn't there a hadith in Bukhari? I'm not sure if it is. Where that it was, I'm not sure if it's right about Umar ibn Khattab that about what he said about Iman in the statements, in the heart and the actions. What is that hadith? Something to that effect.
I'm not sure if it's hadith, no?
Okay.
But yeah, I don't know that's a hadith. I know that's a statement of his teachers. Bukhari's teachers said that Iman is qawlun wa amal, statement and action, right? We're going to discuss it right now. On your question, right? You said about the boy that was forced to say that he's a disbeliever, or forced to say at the kufr, basically, right? And we came back to the Prophet and he said it's in his heart, etc. We're also going to discuss that now also. Yeah, so it will come up now, okay? So, the next issue to discuss is the components of Iman. Right? The components of Iman. Components summed up is qawlun wa amal, as you said. Right? The earlier scholars, this is what they said. The teachers of Bukhari and others, they said Iman is qawlun wa amal. It's statement and it's action. Okay? What we mean by this? It's action that's both by the heart, actions of the heart, and actions of your limbs. Statement meaning statement of the tongue, right? So, three things. Belief in the heart, that's the actions of the heart. Profession by the tongue, and actions of the limbs. The first that we're going to discuss is the belief in the heart, the most important one. That is the belief in the heart. Belief in the heart has two aspects. The first aspect is what the scholars call the statement of the heart. It is made up of recognition, knowledge, and affirmation. That you recognize that Allah is the Rabb, you have knowledge that He is the Rabb, and that you affirm this as well, right? For example, one recognizes that there is none worthy of worship except Allah, one has knowledge of that, and one affirms that. Obviously, if one does not meet this necessary condition of faith, one cannot truly claim to have Iman. The second aspect is what the scholars call actions of the heart. So we have statements of the heart and actions of the heart. This aspect is made up of commitment, voluntary submission, and acceptance, right? So you must voluntarily submit that Allah is the Rabb, etc. That is none worthy of worship besides Allah, right? No one must force you to believe this. Tayyib. Acceptance, right? You accept that He is our Rabb. You accept that the Prophet is our messenger. You accept all of those 6 pillars of faith, okay? You accept it with your heart and you act upon it. So you submit to these things, right? Whatever Allah said, you accept it, you move on. Whatever the Prophet said, you accept it and you move on, right? This is what Iman is in the heart. Other necessary components in the heart is love for Allah, having awe of Allah, trust in Allah, fear of Allah, and hoping in Allah. These are all actions of the heart. But if you truly have the statement of the heart, the first one is that you recognize Allah, have knowledge of Allah, all these things, then the second one will follow me. Automatically, your love for Allah will increase. Automatically, you will have fear for Allah. Automatically, you will have hope in Allah. Right? So the first aspect should directly lead us to the second aspect, unless one's heart is diseased and refuses to follow the truth. So Shaykh al-Islam Taymiyyah rahimahullah, he said, if a heart has the knowledge and recognition of the truth, then if it is free from diseases such as envy, arrogance, following of doubts and misconceptions, and following of desires and lusts, it will fill with the love for the truth and will submit to the truth. Right? The pure heart will automatically submit to the truth if there's nothing that's blocking the way to following the truth, man. Right? This is because the hearts are endowed with a love for truth and seeking it. Therefore, there is nothing more beloved to a pure and sound heart than Allah. There is nothing more beloved to a pure and sound heart than Allah. Okay? So, the issue of following the truth, man. Right? People struggle to grasp this, man. But why? How can you say we're the only ones in the truth? And what about them? And what about them? Right? We don't know what's in people's hearts. You can give people as much da'wah as you want to. Even with the kuffar, right? The matter of tawheed is as clear as it is, man, right? But people's not going to submit because of various things that's in their heart that's blocking the way, man, right? You don't know. It could be arrogance. People don't want to submit to what you're saying. It could be envy. It could be pride. It could be following their desires, right? Someone may not want to enter Islam because he doesn't want to give up khamr, right? He doesn't want to give up women, right? And even within Islam, that we know there are sects of Islam. The truth is clear, man. That the Prophet said that the truth and the way of Islam is layluha ka nahariha, man. Right? There is no night and day. Its night is like its day, meaning there is no night. It's like daylight at all times. It's clear, man. For those who want to find the truth, it's clear, right? And the only way you're not going to find the truth is if there's something blocking your way, man. Your love for another person. I can't give in to this because that teacher I had and I love him too much, he's not upon that. So I can't give in. Where is your love truly then? For the truth or for your teacher? Right? And remember, difference of opinion doesn't mean hatred, doesn't mean disrespect. If you differ with someone, differ with respect. But, you know what? I love you, my teacher, or my father, or my uncle, but the truth is more beloved to me. Allah and His Messenger is more beloved to me. Simple, right? But some people, you cannot guide him. The Prophet couldn't guide his own uncle. What about us? وَمَا عَلَيْكَ إِلَّا الْبَلَاغُ الْمُبِينَ. As Allah said, there is nothing upon you, there is nothing wajib or compulsory upon you except to convey in a clear manner. So our job, do da'wah, explain to people, and that's as much as you can do. You can't force, there's no compulsion in the deen, and guidance doesn't lie in your hands. So you do your job as best as a da'i, and you leave the rest to Allah. You don't know why Allah doesn't guide some people, and why He guides others. That is it's in His wisdom, right? If the Prophet's uncle who loved him and he protected him, he protected him from the Quraysh, he wasn't guided. So who knows who's deserving and who's not deserving? Okay, Allah knows best. That's why He's Al-Hakim. He's the most wise. He is the most knowledgeable. He knows His slaves better than His slaves knows themselves. So some people have an issue in their heart that they need to get over, and once they do, bi'idhnillah, Allah opens the doors for guidance for them, but that issue is in Allah's hands. But the pure heart will follow the truth wherever it goes. So it's this component of Iman that's the most important. It's the foundation and driving force behind the other components of Iman. Right? On your point, when it comes to the components of faith, one is never excused from fulfilling this component, while under different circumstances, one may be excused for not fulfilling the other components. Does that explain it? So, the other components are your actions and the utterances of Iman on the tongue, right? In certain circumstances, you may be excused for that. For example, that boy, right? The Prophet says in the Hadeeth that the pen is lifted from three. From the sleeping person until he wakes up. From the what's the second one? Is it the mad person or that's another hadith, man? From the child until he reaches puberty, and from the person who is forced, compelled, وَمَسْتَكْرَهُ عَلَيْهِ, the one who has ikrar done upon him. So anyone who is compelled to do something, then you are not. Allah says, the Prophet said that the pen is lifted from this person. Someone puts a gun to your head, they tell you, say that you are not a Muslim anymore. You can say it, but the first component, there is no excuses for that component, and that's the belief in your heart, because they can't change that. They can't see what's in your heart. You can tell them straight up, I disbelieve, I'm now a Christian, because you were forced. So it's fine, but you know in your heart that you are still a believer. Understand? So in that circumstance, it's okay not to profess that you're a believer. Right? Some Sahaba on the other hand, they refused to give in. Bilal radiallahu anh was tortured and tortured and tortured. What did he say? Ahadun ahad. Ahadun ahad, right? That Allah is one and one and one. That's all he said. He refused. His Iman was on another level. But had he given in that time, it would have been okay. Because his Iman is still there. In that case, he could have just, so that they stopped torturing him. But his Iman was on such a level that he could withstand the torture, man. Fir'aun's wife as well, right? They said to her most also, before they threw her in the what was it? The big pot when they burnt her, right? They made a boiling pot. And then her and a child. So the child that spoke as an infant, right? One of those kids that spoke as an infant. And because the mother started to have doubts and fear because her child was going to be thrown. And that infant spoke to the mother in that case. And she went and but in that case, had she just given in and said, but in her heart, that would have been fine. Because in certain circumstances, you can ignore the others, but that belief won't change, man.
So not like the Shias say,
No, that's all rubbish. Right, so the essential components of the heart is that recognizing the truth firstly. That comes with knowledge, seeking knowledge, asking Allah for guidance, desiring the truth, and having love for the truth in one's heart. Right? This is combined with hatred for falsehood and disbelief. Okay? So as a believer, you love that which is good, you love that which is correct, you love the truth more than anything else. Right? You love Tawheed, you love the Sunnah. But is that sufficient? This must go hand in hand with hating that which is batil. Right? As much as you love Tawheed, you must hate that which is shirk. As much as you love that which is Sunnah, you must hate that which is bid'ah. Because these are the opposing things, man. How can you love something that goes against that thing which and you don't hate that thing which goes against that which you love? Then you don't truly love that thing. Right? What's the opposite of Tawheed? It's shirk. What's the opposite of following the Sunnah? Is to innovate into the deen and say we don't need the Sunnah, we can rather do our own thing. Right? And how does Allah describe the true believers? Surah Al-Hujurat, Allah says, وَلَكِنَّ اللَّهَ حَبَّبَ إِلَيْكُمُ الْإِيمَانِ Allah has made Iman beloved to them. وَزَيَّنَهُ فِي قُلُوبِكُمْ And He has beautified Iman in their hearts. This is the believer. Does He stop there? وَكَرَّهَ إِلَيْكُمُ الْكُفْرَ وَالْفُسُوقَ وَالْعِصْيَانِ And He has made kufr, disbelief, fusuq and isyan, evil doing and wickedness, He has made it hateful to them. Right? These are the Sahaba. أُولَٰئِكَ هُمَ الرَّاشِدُونَ They are the ones who are the guided ones. Who? Those who love Iman. Iman is beautiful in their heart. And those who hate disbelief. Those who hate wrongdoing and wickedness. That's the true believer. So it's not sufficient to say, yeah, well, we on the Sunnah, it's okay, leave them. Leave the bid'ah, it's okay, ignore it. You're supposed to have hatred for that thing. Right? That's true Iman. As the ayah is clear, it's not sufficient just to say, we believe and it's fine. You must also hate disbelief. Right? And if you study the La ilaha illallah, the scholars always mention that this is verse in Surah Baqarah. لا إكراه في الدين قد تبين الرشد من الغي فمن يكفر بالطاغوت ويؤمن بالله. Right? Those who disbelieve in all the taghut, all the false gods, and they believe in Allah. It's not sufficient just to believe in. You must also believe and cut yourself off from all that which is bad and wrong, basically. Okay? Right. Secondly, we have profession by the tongue. Right? We discussed the belief of the heart. Now, profession of the tongue. Right? So Al-Misri said, it is inconceivable that the belief in the heart is completely realized without the faith being realized with the profession of the tongue. Okay? Profession of the tongue plays a twofold role. Firstly, it's a statement of a fact, meaning you're stating the fact that you believe in Allah and His Messenger, etc. Secondly, it's a statement of commitment to that fact. That, yes, I believe in this and I'm also committed to this. Whatever La ilaha illallah wants of me, that's what I will do. Whatever it wants me to stay away from, that's what I will do. Whatever Iman wants of me, whatever Allah and His Rasul commanded me with, that's what I'm going to do. You know, we live for it and we die for it, right? Let verse go. وَمَحْيَايَ وَمَمَاتِي لِلَّهِ رَبِّ الْعَالَمِينَ. Right? My living and my death is all for Rabbil Alameen. It's all for the Lord of all that which exists. Then Ibn Taymiyyah says that the pious forefathers, meaning the Salaf of this nation, the companions and the Tabi'een, have agreement on the point that the one who believes in his heart but does not verbally state his belief is not treated in either this life or the hereafter as a believer in any way. So, if you never utter the utterance of La ilaha illallah or that you believe, then you cannot be considered a believer in this dunya or in the akhirah. And he says that there is ijma' on this. However, the simple pronouncement of the words in and of themselves is not what is sought. We don't just want people to say La ilaha illallah. Right? And so some people, we know the hadith. Man qala akhiru kalamihi la ilaha illallah dakhal al-jannah. Whosoever professes as his last words La ilaha illallah, he enters Jannah. Right? But other hadith and other scholars have said that La ilaha illallah, the analogy now, is like a key, but each key has teeth, right? And before that key can open your Jannah, you must have the right teeth on it, right? So La ilaha illallah has conditions. It has, you with me? It's not just a statement, man. So just saying La ilaha illallah is not sufficient. Right? You have to live by La ilaha illallah. You have to fulfill the conditions of La ilaha illallah, basically. Right? And also, the hypocrites were those who said La ilaha illallah. They were those who professed their faith. So, the pronouncement of these words must be accompanied by a sincere attempt to implement the following aspects. Correct belief in the Lordship of Allah and its related aspects. The abandonment of freedom and freedom from any kind of association of partners with Allah. Right? Firstly, your belief must be correct in Allah. Secondly, you must free yourself from all types of shirk. Thirdly, the following and implementation of the laws of Islam. Right? That must be what you mean by La ilaha illallah. That is none worthy of worship besides Allah. You free yourself from all forms of shirk, and that you intend to fulfill the laws of Islam as best as you can. Are you started already? We are third way through now. Okay? The third component is your physical actions. The relationship between Iman and your deeds becomes a bit more clear. Right? The deeds of the body. So Imam Shafi'i rahimahullah, he said, there was a consensus of the companions and the tabi'een after them, and those we have met, that Iman is statement, action and intention. None of them are sufficient in themselves without the others. Okay? As Shafi'i said, there's consensus on the fact that Iman is statement, action and intention. Okay? Then, there's a nice narration here. Sahal ibn Abdullah at-Tustari, one of the early Zuhad, right? He was a Zahid of the early days. He was asked, what is Iman? And he said, it is statement, action, intention, and following the Sunnah. Right? Statement, action, intention, and following the Sunnah. This is because if Iman is only a statement without action, then it's kufr. If it is statement and action without proper intention, then it is hypocrisy. If it is statement, action, and intention without following the Sunnah, then it is bid'ah. Okay? And the similar statements have also been recorded by Ali ibn Abi Talib, Hassan al-Basri, Imam al-Awza'i, Sufyan al-Thawri, and Sa'id ibn Jubair. Okay? Similar statements. I have to highlight here. He was a Zahid, right? An ascetic, a person who didn't live for the dunya at all. Cut himself off from, wanted no pleasures from the dunya, right? You have people who are Sufis in today's time. Similar tazkiyah to nafs is what they preach all day long, right? Now we live for we don't live for the dunya, we live for the akhirah. They supposedly are Zahids, right? This statement of Imam al-Tustari is a direct refutation against them. Because when you say to them, don't do this action, don't do that action, they say, but our intention is good, right? This man is clearly stating that Iman is what? Statement. What? Statement. Action. Intention and Sunnah. Right? So, the fourth point that he makes there, that Sunnah is a part of your Iman. He says that Imaan with statement of the heart, action, intention, without following the Sunnah is a bid'ah. Right? So today, no matter what, how pure your intention is, man, if you're doing acts of worship that's not from the Sunnah, then it's a bid'ah. Right? Then it's not accepted. Okay? And, I mean, the author even says in here clearly, as can be seen, many of the latter Sufis clearly have left the path of the early ascetics due to the lack of adherence to the Sharia and the following of practices and beliefs that had no foundation in the Sunnah. Right? Mawluds, Hadras, and the list goes on. No foundation in the Sunnah. So where did it come from? It's innovative things. Right? Your intention is not sufficient. The following of the Sunnah is wajib, and that is a condition for the acceptance of your deeds. And we will get to the proof for this statement that I just made in the 5th hadith, which deals with innovation. Right, so the relationship between true faith and acts may be one reason why Allah so often describes the believers by the acts they perform. When Allah describes the believers, He describes them those who make salah, those who give zakah, those who do this, those who do that. Ibn Taymiyyah said, if the belief is truly in the heart, the deeds will not delay in following it whatsoever. The complete recognition of Allah and proper love cannot be in the heart if it does not have an overriding effect on the outward deeds. For this reason, Allah has denied faith for those who do not fulfill its necessary consequences. Okay. Right, so next issue. Iman is something which yazid wa yankus. Something which goes up, comes down. Yazid, it increases, and yankus, it decreases. And this is something which is extremely clear. That logic can tell you this. Quran is clear on this. Sunnah is clear on this. And the statements of the Imams of Ahlus Sunnah are clear on this. Right? But still there is ikhtilaf on the issue. Still, many of the sects differed on this issue. Right? Few ayat will give, just to show how clear the issue is. When Allah speaks about in Surah Al-Anfal, when He speaks about the believers, what does He say? وَإِذَا تُلِيَتْ عَلَيْهِمْ آيَاتُهُ زَادَتْهُمْ إِيمَانًا. And when Allah's verses are recited to them, the Iman increases. It increases. It doesn't stay the same, it increases. Right? He, Allah, is the one who أَنزَلَ السَّكِينَةَ فِي قُلُوبِ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ. He sends down tranquility to the hearts of the believers. Why? لِيَزْدَادُوا إِيمَانًا مَعَ إِيمَانِهِمْ. In order that faith be added to their faith, or increase to their faith. Okay, and there's ample ayat for this one. Those to whom people said, a great army is gathering against you, hence you should fear it, but such only increased their faith, and they said, for Allah is sufficient, He is perfect in disposing. Right? They said, فَزَادَهُمْ إِيمَانًا وَقَالُوا حَسْبُنَا اللَّهُ نِعْمَ الْوَكِيلُ. That they see this, and the Iman increased. So there is over enough proof, man, to show that something, Iman is something which goes up and it comes down. It's not something which is stagnant.
Also, you can feel the effects of it.
100%. Yeah, the author says, every individual has experienced this fact described in the verses above, that when the Iman is increased, this and that. At times a person is very aware of Allah and of His fear and love for Him. The strong feeling in the person's heart brings tranquility and warmth to the person and also keeps him from committing sins. Not only that, it drives him to sacrifice and work harder for the sake of Allah. He becomes very anxious to get up late at night for prayer, for example, or give freely for the sake of Allah. However, at other times, perhaps when the affairs of this world are engulfing him, his remembrance and attachment to Allah is not that great. He does not feel that great feeling of Iman in his heart. His behavior and actions are not of the same quality as they are at other times. When he encounters this stage, when he thinks about getting up at night for prayer or giving charity for the sake of Allah, his soul becomes too tired or not willing to sacrifice. This is nothing but the fluctuations of Iman in the person's heart. Right? And everybody experiences this. Times when you're strong, times when you're weak. Right? And what's the advice of the scholars? When you're feeling strong, make the best out of it. Right? When you feel you can do good, do as much good as you can. Because you know there's going to come a day when you're feeling lackadaisical, you're feeling a bit weak, you're feeling a bit, right? So, to make up for those days which you know is going to come, because you're a human being, man, right? We're not prophets. Make the most of those times when your Iman is at a high, right? When your Iman is there, give sadaqah as much as you can. Sit and read the Quran. Get up for tahajjud at night. You with me? get to the masjid as often as possible, because there's going to come a day when you go do something to get busy and then, you missed the waqt. But you could have made the effort to be there, right? So, the advice the ulama give, make use of the times when your iman is at the high, right? Don't let those times go to waste, because you need to make up for those days of weakness, basically. Okay, and this happened to the Sahaba, right? The Sahaba, one Sahabi, Handala, he came to Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu and he complained. Abu Bakr asked him, how are you doing? He said, I feel like a munafiq. So Abu Bakr asked him, but why would you say that? Because he says, when I'm with the Prophet ﷺ, my iman is at high. I'm thinking of Jannah, Jahannam all the time. But when I go home to my family, I'm not such, I feel weak. And so he felt that he was a munafiq. Abu Bakr said, but I feel the same way. He went to the Prophet ﷺ and he said, this is something which is normal, it's natural, right? And benefit from this is, when you hang out with the right company, this increases your iman. This helps you stay on a high. That when you hang out with the wrong company, natural effect is that you're gonna be on a low. That's same time, and this is some good benefit here. He says that the affirmation in the heart of the person who simply knows the general aspects of the teaching of the Prophet ﷺ will not be the same as that of the person who knows the details of the Prophet's life and teachings. Right? So the more knowledge you possess and you go out and seek, this will aid you in keeping your iman at a high. Because the more encounters you get, the more you can recall this happened to the Prophet, or he addressed this issue like this and like that. This happened to the Sahaba, right? That's what Allah says in the Quran, and automatically you can combat that, and your iman increases by that. But someone who doesn't know any better, he'll do something ignorant, he'll make a mistake, he'll do something that results in his iman falling, right? So, by knowledge, again, the best way to stay on a high is to increase in knowledge and act upon your knowledge. Similarly, the one who knows more about Allah's names and attributes, the life of the year after and so forth, will be at different level of affirmation, the knowledge than the one who is ignorant of such matters, right? The more you know of the dunya, the more you know of the akhirah of Jannah and Jahannam, what you're working for, what you want to stay away from Jahannam, the more you're going to stay at the high, right? Jahmiyyah also argues that the faith of a person who knows the proofs for his belief and recognizes the falsehood of other beliefs will be stronger and greater than the one who is unaware of these aspects. And this is again, no doubt in this, right? The one who knows the proofs of what he believes. You believe a certain thing and you know why you believe it, that automatically makes you strong and firm. And you know the proofs, or you know why those who believe differently are wrong, right? That also increases your faith. That Allah has kept me away from that. I know what's right, alhamdulillah, according to Quran and Sunnah. That increases you in faith. When you see people doing wrong, yes, you can try and change it, but at the same time, that should make you more thankful to Allah. That should make you realize that you are on the haqq, and that should increase your iman as well. So this issue is not just a theoretical issue, right? What's the fruits of knowing this ikhtilaf, that iman increases, it decreases, right? For example, if a person feels that he has iman, and iman is a fixed attribute, right? Some people, those who say that iman doesn't go up and down, something that's stagnant, it's fixed, then this person will never strive for increasing his iman. And he will not fear or notice a decrease in his iman. And this is the problem with that opinion. The issue with the opinion that iman doesn't go up and down is that if you believe that, look, I have iman and that's it doesn't go up and down, you will never work to increase your iman. Likewise, you will never realize when your iman is on a low. Because to you, it's just something else. It's not your iman that's actually on a low. And such a person can become so unaware of what's happening that his iman can drop and drop and drop until he leaves the fold of Islam, right? So by having this view that iman doesn't increase and doesn't decrease, it's something dangerous. It will lead to you never wanting to get better. You with me? But if you have this view that, you know what, it's something that changes, you can recognize that, hey, I'm on a low now, I need to work. You know, I'm on a high, I need to work. I need to make the most out of this. You with me? That's the benefit of knowing this mas'ala. You with me? And not just, oh, okay, they said it goes up and down, we said it doesn't, so what? There's a big difference between the two. So stop. Dad.
You're out set with your Fajr. I believe that's supposed to come to an agency. I believe that's supposed to come to an agency. I believe that's supposed to come to an agency. I believe that's supposed to come to an agency. I believe that's supposed to come to an agency. I believe that's supposed to come to an agency. I believe that's supposed to come to an agency.